I made these small landscapes with some new stencils and other deco stuff that I recently bought. You can see me jelly printing them and working them out today. Hello jelly print fans! Today I'm going to show you how I am working with some stencils I recently purchased and some other texture making materials. I will use and compare different acrylics, some etching ink and also distress ink from a pad. I will work out two of the little landscapes then. So this is a new little bird stencil that I bought. As usual, all the materials will be listed in the info box below this video. And there will be more stencils coming up. I've got my small 6 by 6 inches jelly plate here, and I have this carbon black by Golden, which is a fluid paint, and it is so fluid that it gives itself a resist on the rather tacky gel plate. So I'm brayering it out, and what I'm trying to do is keep the beading that the paint makes on the gel plate, but also employing the bird stencil at the same time. And I think it's a little difficult, but yeah, I want to try this. So I'm putting the stencil on. You can see the cloud spaces up there that I'll be using too. And here are my little stamps that I call pompons. I just recently bought them as well, and they're great for going through stencils and picking up the paint. As you can see, I don't have to squeeze any paint off. I can just use it for all the birds that you see there. And the stamp is just sucking the paint up. I'm taking the stencil off, and I'm taking the print quickly before there's any more movement of the paint. And this is just the back of a print that didn't work out just for this first test. And yeah, you can see the birds quite clearly, and you can also see that the beading is still there, which is what I wanted, and I find that effect very interesting. Not sure what to do with it. This is the other one I made before I filmed this video. It's even a little more interesting because there's some moving, something like a landscape. I don't know what to do with them yet, but I wanted to show you that I tried this. I'm printing on a school paper block, a watercolor block today. I have like 3 pages left. And here's another stencil that I recently purchased. The one on the left is to show a water surface texture with a little white foam and stuff. And the other one is not a stencil really. I think it's something for embossing, I'm not sure. But I'm using the water surface stencil first. And I'm using some distress ink, and I don't want to use the distress ink pad as I usually do directly. I'm employing my little pompons again. And yeah, you can vary the strength of the paint by going over it again or pressing harder. And you can see it makes quite a nice texture. This is just a test for the prints I want to make. With this stamp, I can use the Distress Ink Oxide pad directly. I'm inking it up with a rusty hinge color, which is really an orange, and the aged mahogany, which is really a nice red, kind of a little bluish red. So I'm inking this up, and in between I have some paint that I want to get rid of because I don't want it to show in the print. And so I'm taking that off with a tissue. I have no idea what this structure is supposed to show, but when I take the stamp off, I'm just Isn't this wonderful? I love it. So here I'm employing the little frame that I changed a little bit to hold my jelly plate, the 6 by 6 inches jelly plate. That's 15 by 15 centimeters. And I'm using that because the gel plate really lost a lot of shape and recently, and I just don't like that. So I want to keep it in there, in that frame. Now you see me stamping on the Distress Oxide pad directly in the color Forest Moss, which is just a green, and Black Soot, which is just a black. And I'm brayering that out a little because I don't want the rim of the ink pad to show, so that's an even layer now. It's hard to even see on the plate, but believe me, the paint is there and it has a great effect. You see that when you print. So I'm coming in with that wonderful natural nature showing stamp again. And I'm pressing down in between the structures just a little bit. And I'm taking that print, and here you see what it looks like now. And I think it's very interesting. I can do something with that. And I'm doing that right away. I want to have some of my birds, and I think they're seagulls. So I don't have a sea landscape, a seascape here, but anyway, seagulls are everywhere. So this could also be a landfill situation landscape. So I'm using my little pom-poms again, this time going through the holes of the stencil to make just a few seagulls. And here I made a mistake because I put one next to another one that's looking completely the same. But that's what it is now. And I should mention that this is the Black Soot Color by Ranger Distress Oxide ink pad. That's what it looks like now. And I can already see trees and things. So I'm going to work this out now. Oh, by the way, as you can see, it has dried completely. It doesn't smear at all. I'm using a tissue anyway, actually not to smear the colored pencils that I'm working with now. If you don't want to see the workout, skip for like 4 minutes and then there's the next print coming. First, I'm working out the trees that I see, and it's kind of a little complicated because they all merge into each other. And yeah, and because that is so, I'm gonna just work it out like that the trees are really all connected with each other. And in the end, this makes a lovely landscape, I think. It's a little dreamy somehow. And I'm also starting to fill in some shadows here, imagining that the light comes from the top left. And you can see how immediately the trees come to life. And I'm going further down. This is the area where it comes in connection with the earth, with the underground. And so I'm starting to give this some shapes too, some rocks, which get shadows as well. I know there are not shadows underground, but what can I do? I just have to give everything in nature a shadow. I'm speeding this up quite a bit because I don't want to bore you to death with the colored pencils. And if you want to look at it slower, you can of course put the video on slow. And yeah, please do tell me your opinion about this in the comments, because I don't really know if the sped up is unnerving or what to do differently, maybe any kind of criticism is welcome. Up here you can see some of the white shapes, kind of a decalcomania effect I have there. And I'm working out just a small halo around the trees, not too much. I'm very tempted to give this landscape a big white moon, but I'm resisting the urge this time. I'm also giving the whole of the frame a darker outline. Well, actually only underneath and on the right side, because the left coming from the light coming from the left side above. This is interesting that the weeds, the trees go into the frame and even change the frame. So I call this one done and I love it. What do you think? For the next prints, I will be using this kind of, I think it's a gift wrapping band. I recently bought it, but it really didn't say what it is. It's just a textures see-through kind of net. So on this side you see more of the net, and so that's why I will be putting that side down. And this is a kind of a silicone coaster for pots, and it has a bee's comb pattern. So I'll be employing that one too. And I'm using the ground espresso by Ranger Distress Oxide, and that's kind of a brown, and a forest moss green again. I cut the gift band to size and pressing on the bee's combs. Oh, actually, I think they're called honeycombs, aren't they? So I'm taking off paint with a kitchen tissue. It has a pattern of its own, but that will not show through these. And then taking the whole print. Careful with another tissue because I don't want to smear the back side, which I managed to anyway. This is the result. I don't like it much. I'm not going to do very much with this. Time for me to try some other acrylic paint. I'm using the Golden Open again, but it's not fluid this time. It's just the Golden Open slow drying paint. And I'm using a VanDyck brown and I think it's a chrome oxide green. And basically doing the same stuff here. Ah, no, I'm actually not doing the same stuff. I'm using that stamp that I used before as a negative again. And I'm always wobbling this around a little, because if you wobble these things on the wobbly jelly plate, you get this kind of these halos, or sometimes it gives you more perspective. But this one is also not that interesting, I think. If you compare those, they are both quite boring. Now I really want to compare if the etching ink would get more of an interesting effect with these materials. I'm using a warm sepia by Charbonnel. You know, I love the etching ink. It gives a lot of detail, and I want to see if it's better than the Distress Oxide. For these fine patterns, I'm really using, I don't want to use the acrylics anymore because they're just not fine enough. You can see me brayering not to the rim, but only on the inside, just to get some kind of a darker frame. I'm even taking off paint in the middle, so this is very thin there. So putting on the band. And that lovely stamp again. I can even press the texture through that band. The excess paint print looks nice as well. You can see what the etching ink does on the gel plate, much better than with the Distress Oxide. Now I think that print is quite nice. You can see a lot more detail than with the acrylic print version. But still, it doesn't inspire me for anything. And I don't know why, the Distress Oxide gave me interesting patterns, so I'm going back to the black soot, black again. And this time I dared to take off the excess paint with the deli paper. If you know my channel, I'm using this one often. It gives totally different effects. Look here, I made a mistake. I put it down there before I picked up the paint, but it wasn't really that bad a mistake. And yes, I think it's more interesting than the ones I've done before. So I'm gonna give it a try and work this one out as well. The lower landscape seems to suggest a lake or a sea, an ocean, because I have some reflection going on there. But for me, those are real stones for my feeling. So I'm treating them as a hard ground and giving the stones some shadows. And I'm seeing clouds where the band made this whole pattern, this net pattern. Really interesting. And you guessed it, I want some birds there too. This time I'm just using the pencil because I want them to be a little lighter. Three birds should do. Making the sky a little darker on the top. And after giving some more shadows to the stones in the ground, I just couldn't help myself but make something out of that white spot there. And I drew a moon, a white moon, complete with a reflection on the earth. And also the seagull has a little belly reflection of the moon. So what do you think? I really like this one too, and I like the other one that I worked out. But also the failures I make, I want to show them to you. It's always good for me to know what can go wrong. And now I know better for which effect I use which kind of paint. So I'll see you in a week. Till then, bye.